Scale of 1 to 10, how much did you miss us?
Pardon?
Scale of 1 to 10, how much did you miss us?
Is that which is good?
10 being the best.
Oh, good 10.
10? All right. Good. Glad to hear it.
No, it's good to be back. Yeah.
How many camps for you as a player and coach now? Or have you quit keeping track?
Well, quite honest, on the ice, I haven't been, because really it's third year or third season with this group, and I haven't been on the ice with them. So for me, but it's like 35.
Fully healed from your
I'm 100%.
visit to the robot?
Yep, no, I'm good. Yep. Feels good to feel good again. Took a while.
Yeah, you caught us off guard. You caught us off guard just showing up on the news one night.
Yeah, it's just the way I like it.
Darryl, why did you hold off on having the procedure? Was it
Just because, my dad and most of my brothers have had the same thing, and I knew it wasn't something that you're just going to walk out and be good again.
Right.
So it's better and you know how much I don't like guys not playing if they're half injured. Quite honest, I'd rather they didn't know that I was hurt.
Dean told us that you just thought it was going to heal on its own.
Yeah, well, sort of. Give it time.
Wishful thinking, huh?
Yeah.
This is your first camp. You've talked about that as well, many times in the past. How do you prepare for this camp? There have been just a few minor changes to the roster, but how do you prepare for the season?
Well, there's obviously a big difference. I mean, there's if we'd have started last year, if we'd had training camp last year, it was pretty well set. Other than Willie, our team was set. This is a big difference. There's not minor changes. There's guys that are clearly fighting for spots, and you can't keep everybody. So that's partly related to guys that came up and played well last year, or guys that the organization traded for during the season, and then with the trade in the off season. So if you just do numbers by position. First off, we're trying to improve by position. We were, particularly our left side last year, if you look at it production-wise, didn't produce enough for us to. We were probably, in some ways, when you break it down like that, lucky to be a playoff team. So we're clearly looking for guys that can play a little higher, or play with the right guys, or give us a little more production, or help us with maybe our speed or our identity a little bit.
Behind Brandon, do you have a depth chart on the side? Is there an LW2 right now that will play with Carter and Richards, or is it totally up for grabs?
I want to give Fratton every opportunity to play, clearly every opportunity to play. So that's sort of where I want to start with that. And then if you go down from there, well, obviously, Cliffy deserves an opportunity. He scored 7 goals in 48 games, but then he was goose egg in the playoffs. So there's we have lots of, fortunately we have, after the doubleheader with Phoenix, we have a lot of opportunities to look at guys once they settle in a little.
Speaking of the doubleheaders, the groups, Group A and B, is that how you're going to go in? One group's going to be for Phoenix, or you haven't decided yet?
No, you know what, we got, you started a day with 5 lines and 10 defense. Obviously, you can only play 4 and 6, so that has a lot to do with it. And then we'll just see how. Quite honestly, I haven't really put a whole lot of thought into it.
You staying for the game here, or you're going to Phoenix, or you don't even know that part yet?
No, I'll probably travel. Get out of Dodge for a day. Especially, you're generally taking on when you play in that situation where you're basically, you call it split squad or whatever. I'd rather go with a younger group and be with them for the day. It makes a difference.
Do you approach the season any differently because of the realignment and the different teams that'll be in the division this year?
Yeah, I think as training camp goes along, we'll talk a lot more as we get down in numbers. We'll talk a lot more with our players about it because it's not so much the division changes. I know we're in a 7-team division, but it's not a balanced schedule. And it certainly didn't help us travel-wise at all. It made it tougher for us when you break it down miles-wise. So teams in California didn't get a break, that's for sure, because they changed the divisions.
Darryl, what sort of expectations do you have for Willie, and do you have any idea of what you might get from him, or is it just a bit of a blank
Take it
slate?
a day at a time. Yep. You know, he's still, that's clear, really clear. I'm not gonna he hasn't played in a year and he's 35 years old. Year and 3 months. So that's a lot.
This last game obviously was the.
So it's a long, it's just kind of work with him, and him and I'll just stay together on it and work on it, right? I mean, we didn't do a lot of he didn't go through the passes physical, passes medical, all those things, but at the same time, he was one of the guys that didn't do all his testing, quite honest, because we didn't want him to. So there's still a lot of work.
So does that mean he has not been medically cleared to play?
No, I did say he passes medical,
okay.
passes physical, but we're
He
still being very cautious with it.
Okay. He wasn't sure when that actual would occur. It would occur on day one.
Wouldn't have been on the ice. If he would not have passed.
He said that one of the reasons he was coming back was to prove the doubters wrong, that he was using that as motivation. Is that a good chip for a player to have on his shoulder?
He's a really good player. That the last game he played, he won a championship, was a big part of it. He hasn't played for a year, and quite honest, if you talk to him, he's been through this before, even though he hadn't won before. He'd been through where he's missed a prolonged period of time and had to do that same thing, come back and actually had to come here to do that, right? So I'm sure there's a reason he's a good player. He's a proud guy, so he's going to try and do that.
Team's number 2 goaltender, is it as simple as who plays best in camp, or more complicated than that?
Yeah, you got to talk to Dean first off, because Matthew is on a tryout, but he's going to get every opportunity, and obviously the coaches have to show confidence in 3 or 4 guys there, and we'll let them sort it out. They'll get the opportunity. The only thing as a coach is nobody's going to leave here and say they weren't given the opportunity.
You have a sleeper up front for the wall. I mean, we're supposed to look at Fred, right? You want him to.
Yeah.
Is there a guy that maybe is under the radar that they could challenge here, or is it?
That line in Manchester is really good last year for us, the whole line. So if one of them jumps out, awesome. If Pearson, Vay, or Toffoli jumped out, that'd be awesome. But we have our 11 or 12 guys that played here all of last year on a good team. So they have a foot up, and then Fratton coming in. So if one of them kids, it's highly likely that all 3 of them, if you're 100% healthy, that all 3 of them or 2 of them would be here. So one of those 3 is going to get a good crack.
So there's a scenario where Tyler Toffoli could be in Manchester to start the season.
Why not?